Smokemore was the hero. He killed the vampires. He killed the clan. He died protecting the boy he loved. And then he went to heaven. And while he was resting, Stack was hunting. The film built an infrastructure of heroism around Smoke's final choices. It needed you to feel his sacrifice. It needed you not to audit his mercy. Because the moment you audit it, the whole story changes. 60 years, no promises, no boundaries, no names, except one. And the most chilling part? Stack kept that one promise perfectly, which means he had 60 years to break every other one. Here is what Sinners was actually built to make you ignore. The heroism illusion. How the film engineered your forgiveness. Let's start with what the film gave you. Two brothers, damaged by the world, trying to build something beautiful inside it. The film handed you that reading immediately, and it was designed to be irresistible. Because here's the mechanism at work. Before Sinners introduces a single vampire, before a single fang is drawn, it spends an entire hour making you love what is about to be destroyed. The music, the community, the light. That sequence is not just beautiful filmmaking, it is a predatory act of audience manipulation. The more you love the juke joint, the more you hate what takes it. The more you hate what takes it, the more you cheer the man who fights back. And cheering Smoke is exactly what the infrastructure of this film requires. But here's the first clue hiding in plain sight. Before a single patron dances, before a single lantern is lit, before a single note is played, the camera finds this, a stain on the floor of Smoke's dream. The film wants you to read it as atmosphere, Southern Gothic texture, period detail. That's the deception. Think about the implications of building a celebration on a wound. The juke joint was not a new beginning. It was a site that had already been used for violence, purchased from the man who organized that violence, with money stolen from other criminals. 3 layers of blood, and Smoke hung lanterns over all of it, and called it freedom. The existential threat in Sinners did not arrive at nightfall. It was present at the transaction. Now, Annie, the film's most underestimated character, a hoodoo practitioner, a keeper of protective magic, the woman who knows what is coming before anyone else does. Watch her expression. That is not a woman discovering something new. That is a woman confirming something ancient. Annie is the story's only true intelligence asset, and she is also, this is volatile, the story's most perfectly unprotected character. She builds wards for others. She carries no ward for herself. Her power is entirely outward-facing. The keeper of the community's defenses is the gap in the perimeter. And Smoke, the man who doubted her magic, despite benefiting from it twice in the film, never acknowledges this, never once. He kills her, with love, with precision, with the full capacity for decisive action, that he will refuse to apply to the next person who needs it. That is the chilling reality the film's heroism infrastructure was built to conceal. Smoke was capable of the right choice. He made it once, then he chose himself. The evidence of deceit. What the film hid inside its most emotional scenes. Let's examine the conspiracy hiding inside Sinners' most celebrated moments. Not theories, evidence. Exhibit 1. Mary leaves the juke joint to talk to the vampires. The film codes this as love. She wants to help Stack. She wants to solve the financial problem threatening the opening night. She goes outside because she cares. That door, that single act of love closing behind her, is how the fortress falls. Remick could not enter. His entire predatory protocol required an invitation. He had been standing outside for over an hour, ancient, powerful, 1,500 years of patience, and he could not cross a threshold unless someone extended a welcome. Mary's love for Stack was the invitation he had been waiting for. The film's most suppressed truth is not about vampires. It is about how love is the mechanism through which every defense is eventually compromised. Imagine a creature that has survived 15 centuries. By understanding one thing about human beings, that they will always, always choose the person they love over the protocol that protects them. Remick didn't need to breach the juke joint. He needed to find the right person to love Stack enough to go outside. Mary was that person. Love was the key, and it worked exactly as it has worked for 1,500 years of predatory infrastructure. Exhibit 2. The man guarding the door is removed before the main attack. Stack is not the first casualty. Cornbread is. Remick's protocol targeted the perimeter first. This is not random horror movie logic. This is military precision. This is what a 1,500-year-old apex predator looks like when he is not being rushed. He has done this before. He will do it again. The only question has ever been, who gets to stop him? Exhibit 3. The most volatile scene in the film. Not the siege, not the staking. This. Smoke has already staked Annie. Smoke has already demonstrated that he understands what needs to be done, and that he can do it. Stack stands before him, fed, operational, dangerous, and Smoke lowers the weapon. The film wants you to feel this as the tragedy of brotherhood, the unbearable weight of love. We want you to feel something else. Annie asked to be spared, and was spared. Stack did not ask. Stack simply existed. And Smoke's inability to end him is not a failure of strength. It is a failure of accountability. A man who could, who had just proven he could, chose not to. Not for Stack's sake, for his own. That silhouette is not a character walking away. That is 60 years of unaccountable darkness, beginning its first night of freedom. Exhibit 4. A brief one, but important. The film's most brutal pivot. Grace invites the vampires in. The film codes this as tragic error. A mother's panic, a warrior's rage, a noble sacrifice gone wrong. But the chilling reality is that Grace's choice is correct in motivation and catastrophic in consequence. She refuses to wait. She refuses passive survival. She acts, and everyone dies. Think about the implications of that. In Sinners, the character who acts decisively to protect her child causes the massacre. The character who acts decisively to spare his twin releases the predator. Every decisive act in this film is punished, except one. The man who made the worst decision gets the transcendent ending. The breaking point. The moment the suppressed truth nearly surfaced. 60 years after the sawmill, 60 years after the siege, 60 years after the promise. Sammy built something, a blues club, a legacy, a life full of music and memory, and the film gives this to you as its emotional reward. Hold that feeling, because what we are about to show you is designed to dismantle it. The club is named Perline. Perline was turned by Remick. Remick arrived because Sammy's music broadcast a signal that a 1,500-year-old predator could hear. That predator gained entry because Stack was turned by Mary. Mary was turned because she went outside to help Stack. Stack went free because Smoke lowered his weapon. The sign on that building is not just a tribute, it is an invoice. Every name in that causal chain is printed on it in invisible ink, and two of the people in that chain just walked through the door. Now, watch Mary, not watching Sammy, watching the room. That is not nostalgia, that is not grief, that is an involuntary survey. 6 decades of predatory protocol have made it reflexive. She is not visiting a memory, she is assessing a space. The film never acknowledges this. It cannot, because acknowledging it would collapse the emotional architecture of the entire closing sequence. This is the moment the suppressed truth nearly surfaced, right here, in Mary's eyes, in the automatic scan of a predator who has not stopped being a predator for a single night across 6 decades. The film's most deliberate act of concealment is asking you to look at Sammy's smile instead of Mary's eyes. Now Stack speaks. Compare this sentence to Remick standing outside the juke joint in 1932. I can give you freedom, community, belonging. The syntax is identical. The mechanism is identical. Imagine a man cursed to become the thing he survived. Stack did not choose to adopt Remick's predatory protocol. He absorbed it. Over 60 years of darkness, the infrastructure of what Remick built became the infrastructure of what Stack is. Smoke didn't just spare his brother. He handed the darkness a 6-decade apprenticeship. and sent it into the world with one name to avoid and no other boundaries at all. Sammy refuses the offer, and it is real. It is earned. The film earned that moment. But here's the question the film never asks. How many people between 1932 and 1992 did not refuse? How many people in 60 years of unaccounted nights heard the same offer in a darker room with no smoke to lower the weapon and no Annie's talisman to repel the bite, and said yes? The film gave you Sammy's answer. It never showed you the others. The chilling aftermath. What Smoke's choice means beyond the screen. Let's return to The Stain. The juke joint was built on a wound. The freedom it promised was purchased with money that had its own body count. The deal that made it possible was signed by a man who had scheduled its destruction. And the night it opened, the most transcendent night of black music that the Mississippi Delta ever witnessed, ended with almost everyone who attended either dead or turned. The Stain never came out. It was just covered, with lanterns, with music, with joy that was absolutely real and absolutely temporary. This is what the film was built on. This is what Smoke was built on. A man who understood the difference between what something looks like and what it costs, who chose, anyway, to look at the lanterns instead of the floor. Stack disappears into the Mississippi dark. 1940s, World War II. Millions of people displaced, cities in darkness, a vampire with 60 years of patience, and one name to avoid, moving through a world that has never been more volatile. 1950s, the Great Migration, millions of black Americans moving north, new cities, new communities, new prey for a predator who has already demonstrated, in a single night in Clarksdale, that he understands how to infiltrate a community from the inside out. 1960s, civil rights, urban unrest, people already being consumed by systems more visible than Stack, but Stack moving through it all. 1970s, 1980s, and then 1992. Stack walks into Perline's club, well-dressed, unhurried, at ease. That ease is not incidental. That ease was cultivated. 60 years of operating without restriction produces a specific kind of predator. One who no longer feels like a predator. One who has made peace with what it takes to survive. One who has told himself, and perhaps genuinely believes, that the one promise he kept makes the 50 years of unkept ones a balanced account. Stack is not a monster who knows he is a monster. He is something more dangerous. A monster who kept one promise and built an identity around that. Imagine a man cursed to define his entire moral character by the one good thing he did, in a life otherwise unexamined. That is not a vampire story. That is a human story. That is the story of every person who committed to one act of loyalty and used it to justify a lifetime of everything that followed. And Smoke. Smoke gets the light. He rests with Annie. He holds his daughter. The film gives him peace, because the film needed him to be a hero with a fatal flaw, yes, a hero who suffered, absolutely, but a hero. We are less generous, not because we don't understand grief. We understand it completely. That is precisely why we hold Smoke accountable. Grief is not a defense, it is an explanation. And explanations are not absolution. Smoke made his choice. The world inherited it. 60 years of darkness, moving, feeding, turning. On the other side of that lowered weapon. The stain was always there. Smoke just added to it, and called it the hardest thing he ever did. It was. That doesn't make it right. Here is what Sinners was actually about. Not vampires, not racism, not even brotherhood. It was about the cost of grief, when grief belongs to someone with power. When a powerful person chooses love over consequence, the consequences do not disappear. They migrate. They inherit the world. They dress well and walk into clubs named after people they helped kill. The most dangerous people in history are not the ones who chose evil. They are the ones who chose love, and never once looked up to see who paid for it. Here is the question this story leaves you with. Was Smoke a victim of his own humanity? Or was his humanity the weapon that the darkness used to walk free into the world? Leave your answer below. The comments section is where this conversation continues. If this truth disturbed you, good. That disturbance is the point. Smash like, subscribe. The Pulse has more dark truths waiting. Click it.